into authentic conversations about ourselves and our community, exploring topics that uplift and inspire us. From personal growth to social change. So grab your teacup and get ready to join the conversation.
Saw the Freakoff tapes. Oh, wait a minute. Can y'all hear me? Okay, I'm like, can y'all hear me? Hi, sippers. We are live for the Sunday afternoon. Tanisha Talks Teas. We are sipping tea from day 25 of the Diddy trial to currently. I hear that the jurors saw the Freakoff tapes. So let's jump right on into it. Hi, Facebook Live, YouTube, Kick, and Twitch. We are pushing right along and doing really strong. So we're going to finish that way. I hear they're about to wrap up on the side of Diddy's trial, defense side for Diddy's trial. Maybe this coming week. So let's jump right on into it and see what the current tea is to sip on Diddy. Let me share my screen with you guys and sip this tea. Remember to like and subscribe when you come in and get your teacup filled up. Okay.
Prosecutors attempted to paint an even darker picture of Sean Diddy Combs' inner circle. From escort logistics to alleged drug use, jurors will walk through a flood of messages that prosecutors say expose the operation behind the accusations. We're going to break it all down with Law and Crime's in-court reporter Elizabeth Milner right now. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Hey everybody, this is another Law and Crime legal alert. So recent allegations against the multi-billion-dollar video game industry claim that video games
along the lines of, oh, the traffic from New Jersey is crazy, or, oh, I just had to travel all the way down from New Jersey, which kind of signaled to other staffers, okay, what's going on?
To talk about this drama with a juror number 6, dismissed. What happened?
Yeah, so it didn't necessarily come as a surprise that this particular juror, that being juror number 6, was dismissed. I think the judge was kind of signaling that this that this specific juror was going to be dismissed, kind of hinting about this on Friday. But then he took into consideration what the defense had to say, as they made really an impassioned speech about why this particular juror should stay. But as far as what the judge said this morning but according to some of the text messages that we saw presented by the government, it seems like everyone was kind of in the know about what these particular hotel nights, one, entailed, but also what they required too. And so you see a message from Dave Shirley that's saying, okay, is an Uber taking them still? Said that the government prepared the charts, but then Sankar's role was just reviewing these.
Now they just will become a part of the actual deliberation process.
Okay, I had to get
Elizabeth, real quick, was there some issue with another juror too, but we don't have a lot of information about what's going on with that?
Yeah, so what we did learn is that the issues before they're dismissed for the weekend, or even at the end of the day, it's like, don't talk about this case with anyone, turn off your notifications. If you see an article about this case, turn it off, throw your phone away, go outside, those types of things. And so from right now, what we know is that there hasn't been any type of action taken on this particular juror, but the juror did feel a type of way and letting the court know that they did receive this type of message. But as far as any action, as far as dismissing the juror or questioning this juror even further, nothing has been taken today.
And I'll tell you, when we do the lunchtime show on Law and Crime's YouTube channel, I can't tell you how many questions we get was it a mistake to not sequester this jury? How can we ensure they don't follow anything about the case? I mean, at the end of the day, they should not know who you are, Elizabeth. The person who's the face of Law and Crime's coverage of this, they should not know who you are. They should not know who I am. And if they do, it's a problem. Okay. So we move past the juror issue. Now we go into summary witnesses. Summary witness is very interesting in a case like this. Basically, when you have a voluminous amount of material, particularly digital evidence, you need sometimes a witness to kind of condense it, to kind of do an overview, to summarize what it's about. You know, you have charts that are presented by the government. So obviously in a racketeering case like this, and particularly when you have so many different players and all these underlying allegations, I'm not surprised. I want to talk about the first witness, this first summary witness. It was a paralegal, and her name is, and correct me if I mispronounce it, Anya Sanker. What was her role?
Yeah, so Anyanya Sanker, I hope I'm pronouncing it right too, Jesse. So her role essentially was just reviewing two of the charts that were in this case, and those being the summary charts. And so she said that the government prepared the charts, but then Sankar's role was just reviewing these charts for accuracy. And so she reviewed text messages, documents, audio messages, audio files, which are completely different, and then just other things like that. And so we saw exhibits of, you know, text message timelines, but these ones were specifically from a person that's been brought up a number of times in this trial. However, we haven't heard from this person or directly from her mouth, and that obviously being Christina Quorum. And so what we did learn is just about, you know, the messages that were sent on her device, the device that was obtained by HSI during the raids. And so there were just a number of text messages from Christina Quorum to Dave Shirley, an assistant, and then just some other messages too, including messages to Jane, messages to Cassie, messages to Sean Combs, aka Diddy, aka PD, as some messages call him himself. And so what we were able to see from this particular chart was dates and times, the record type, from whoever the sender was, and then to whoever the sender was sending that to, the content file name, and then the source of it all, which is essentially just where the government exhibit is. So that way, whenever the jury goes back to deliberate, they're able to kind of easily find everything because everything's all summed up into one chart. But we saw kind of records from the earliest time frame being March 18th of 2016 to February 26th of 2024. And I thought those dates were pretty interesting because if you think about it, you know, February 26th of 2024 being kind of the last record that they have, I thought was like, oh, okay, because given that the raids happened in March and then Diddy's arrest didn't happen until September, I thought the dates would be a little more current than they actually were. And even going back to March 18th of 2016, that being the earliest of these particular records, that was years into Christina Quorum's role already as Diddy's kind of head assistant. And so what we did end up seeing is just some text messages. So we did see one message, this being December 29th of 2019, and it was a message from Ryan Lopez to Christina Quorum, Ryan Lopez being one of the assistants, and he said, you know, LOL, think I saw one of the cowboys. You can spot them in the lobby like an escort. I forgot to tell you about it. Then Christina Quorum writes to Ryan Lopez, laughing emoji. By the way, how long is he going to stay awake? Then Ryan Lopez wrote back to Christina Quorum, LOL, I'm guessing until tomorrow night. Then we heard some audio files, this one being from, you know, and they kind of jumped around, honestly, Jesse, from time frame to time frame. So we saw one audio file from January 30th of 2023, and the source was a voice memo, but it was an audio kind of recording that we had heard previously, and that was the recording from Christina Quorum talking to Jonathan Perez, one of the assistants, just about that sexually explicit video that was found on the staff iPad, where Christina Quorum kind of pulls him to the side and is like, I need to tell you, or I need you to tell me step by step and don't miss a beat, just as far as how everyone found this particular video. So it was something that we've heard before. And even some of these text messages that we saw in this particular exhibit were texts that we've seen before, which means the jury has seen it before too. There was one text exhibit. This was from March 18th of 2016 to March 20th of that same year. It was between Christina Quorum and Dave Shirley, that being the assistant, of course. And Christina Quorum is saying, can you head to the Four Seasons to set up room? He said, bring water, Gatorade, chicken noodle soup too. So interesting of kind of where they were going in this type of direction. I think what the government was trying to do was really just show just how the preparation occurs for these hotel nights. You know, I think at points the defense was kind of insinuating that the assistants didn't know about these hotel nights, but according to some of the text messages that we saw presented by the government, it seems like everyone was kind of in the know about what these particular hotel nights, one, entailed, but also what they required too. And so you see a message from Dave Shirley that's saying, okay, is an Uber taking them still? And then, you know, I'm kind of paraphrasing here because there were so many messages. And then he later says, rock riding with them. And then Christina Quorum responds, Rock, just CC and PD, presuming that PD is obviously P. Diddy and CC being Cassie Ventura, something that Cassie has even testified was kind of a nickname that she has been called too. And then we see another message from Melissa Fiola. So this must have been one of the group messages where Melissa writes, adjourning room not available, hotel now sold out. And then we see another message, this being from the next day from Christina Coram to Dave Shirley, again, this being in March of 2016, where Christina Coram writes, they're giving him a hard time, something, something, something. I got it added. And so I think that was just another kind of talk about just logistics in terms of who was coming to this particular room and that sort. And then we saw more text messages. June 16th of 2016, Christina Coram writing to Dave Shirley, heads up, he's probably about to do a Wild King night. Dave Shirley said, you know, SHIT, need to re-up on baby oil. Christina Coram says, yeah, you can head out and get everything that you need. Dave Shirley writes, forgot to grab the cash, or he wrote like a $sign, and package from you. Then we see another message, or we see more messages. These ones from November 14th of 2021. These ones actually featuring Sean Combs himself and Christina Coram. PD to Christina Coram, is room ready now? Christina Coram to PD, on with them now, any minute. We see another text message from Christina Coram to PD, that being hotel called, Paul coming up. And we presume, you know, given the time frame, that Paul might have been the entertainer that Jane was specifically talking about during her testimony. And so it really was just kind of a lot of text exhibits that were shown from all different time frames and time ranges, including from when Cassie was in a relationship with Sean Combs, also to when Jane was in a relationship with Sean Combs too. And then just seeing just all the different kind of complexities, I guess maybe the right word to say, is just far as who was involved in what assistance and how Christina Coram would kind of go about writing these messages to make sure that the hotel room was set up for these hotel nights or Wild King nights, or what we all call them to be freak-offs too.
Right, and I think that that is imperative for a racketeering case where you need to prove that the inner circle was a part of it. Racketeering conspiracy. Sean Combs couldn't have engaged in this behavior or agreed to engage in this behavior by himself. He needed other people. So the more they can say he used his businesses, his assistants, his staff to facilitate these alleged crimes, these criminal events, and cover them up, that's key. And I think the more that they talk about the flow of cash to the hotels, or the flow of cash to the sex workers and transporting the sex workers. And I understand there are messages about, you know, a lot of travel arrangements too, transportation to engage in prostitution. He's facing 2 charges. And that's basically, did he transport sex workers and alleged victims for the purposes of sex work? That's what it is. When it came to Jane and when it came to Cassie, the 2 alleged victims in this case, they make up their own individual sex trafficking charges. They make up their own transportation to engage in prostitution charges. Wasn't there text messages that were about them specifically?
Yeah, there definitely were for both Cassie and Jane. So we saw messages from May 5th of 2017 where Cassie wrote to Christina Coram, WTF. Christina Coram wrote to Cassie, you okay? Cassie writes back, I don't have my stuff. I don't even have money. And then, always paraphrasing here because there were just so many text messages that were shown, where Christina Coram then responds to Cassie, he went right up after you left and haven't seen him since. Then there was another message. It was from the year later. It was April 20th of 2018. So this is the same year that Cassie and Diddy later called it quits, in the fall of that year. But in the spring of that year, Cassie wrote to Christina Coram, hey, I'm sorry about last night. I can't do the violence. Scary, kick me out of my home anymore. I got carry and bounced. I don't know what else to say. Then Christina Coram writes to Cassie, you okay? Cassie responds, I'm okay, just bummed. I don't know what's going on. Then we see messages from, you know, jumping in time frame here where they're kind of discussing Jane's rent, and that being a message that we saw from May 16th of 2023, where Christina Coram wrote to Diddy, or PD in these particular text messages, where she wrote, FYI, Robin said she paid Jane's rent last week. Then Jane kind of even sending messages to Christina Coram herself, where on November 2nd of 2023, Jane wrote to Christina Coram, also just keeping it real with you. I'm not doing any more hard partying. We recently got into a pretty big fight and I'm putting my foot down. No more hotel nights. Then obviously Jane said a couple more things too. But that was just kind of the gist of what I was able to write down pretty quickly. And then we hear an audio file or an audio message that we've also heard before, and this being from November 19th of 2023, so just a couple of days after Cassie filed her lawsuit and just a couple of days after that lawsuit was ultimately settled, where it's again a recording that we've heard before of Diddy talking to Jane, but this one's a little bit different. It's not like a voice note that people send to one another through text messages. This was the recording of the recording.
Okay, we are caught up on that tea. Let me switch over to something else. So we learned also that the drug mule allegedly for Diddy, Brandon Paul testified, right? So let's listen to that. Testimony of Brandon Paul.
Please be advised that viewer discretion is strongly recommended. None of the content presented here has been exaggerated or taken out of context. These are the exact statements made by the prosecution team, defense team, Brendan Paul, Diddy's drug mule, and Joseph Cercello, a Homeland Security agent. Some words have been censored to comply with YouTube's guidelines. What you're about to hear is a voiced-over reading of testimony in the Sean Diddy Combs trial. Source, courtroom reporter at Inner City Press on X.com. All parties are presumed innocent until proven guilty. Listen at your own discretion. The government calls Brendan Paul.
Do you recognize this person?
Sean Combs. I worked for him until I was arrested at a Florida airport for possession of cocaine in my personal assistant bag.
Why was it there?
I was sweeping Mr. Combs's room.
How did you come to work for Mr. Combs?
Through Revolt Illy Maroon, he told me get in to get out. If you have a girlfriend, break up with her. You'll never see her.
Did you interview?
Late October 2022 at 200 South Mapleton Drive.
How were you greeted there?
My ID was scanned and I had to sign an NDA. Frankie Santella and Christina Coram was there, KK.
Did they hire you?
Yes, I would pack a lot of joints in the garage. Marijuana.
When did you meet Mr. Combs?
KK came to the garage and told me to come to a listening party in the backyard and take notes.
What was KK's role?
Chief of staff, helped out with the family.
Did KK use Mr. Combs's phone?
Yes.
How many assistants did Mr. Combs have?
At first 5, then 4, then 2. Given my college basketball background, I helped with Mr. Combs's workouts.
Who is this?
Jonathan Perez.
And this?
Butler Frank Rodriguez.
What did Mr. Combs' butler do?
Stand next to Puff, giving him water, chapstick, whatever he needed.
Did you have group chats with KK?
Yes.
Turn to the binder and flip through it. Who is this?
Fahim. We called him Fa.
What was your salary?
Started at $75,000 a year, then $100,000. I got paid bi-weekly by Combs Enterprises.
Where did you live?
In Airbnb in LA and Miami.
Where did KK stay?
In LA, an apartment 4 minutes from 200 South Mapleton. In Miami, in Two Star Island.
Did you accompany Mr. Combs to paid club appearances?
Yes. He would ask for $150,000, and they'd have to sell things for him.
What did you do to stay awake?
Prescription Adderall and sometimes coke.
What was your job?
To make sure Mr. Combs was always happy. He'd say, I don't take no for an answer. He told us to move like SEAL Team 6.
Did Mr. Combs fire you?
Yes, for forgetting his Lululemon fanny pack when he went on a walk. He said, I don't want to see your face anymore. Tell KK you are fired.
What did you do?
Bought a Lululemon fanny pack, get it in, laid low.
Did you ever complain to HR?
No, that wasn't a thing.
Why not?
HR even forgot to pull my federal taxes my first 8 months. You just go to Mr. Combs.
Did Mr. Combs use drugs?
Yes, cocaine, more.
What is in this photo?
My hand with ecstasy and Tootsie, pink cocaine.
Why did you take the photo?
To ask staff what to do with it after I found it. I was told to put it in his bag.
Did you buy marijuana for him?
Yes.
From whom?
Philip Pines. Puff liked Sunset Sherbet.
Who were the other drugs dealers Mr. Combs used?
One stop, Guido Baby Girl and I think it's spelled O-E-I.
Who's this?
Guido.
Is this your chat with Baby Girl? What is happening?
Jonathan Perez is introducing me to Baby Girl. She asked me, is it for you or Puff? I replied, Puff, but tell anyone it's for me.
Why?
Puff is high profile, so we used alias.
Did Mr. Combs use Cialis?
Yes, we'd put it in his nightstand.
Your message to Love Red Phone, what does it mean?
I called Puff Love. His red phone was personal. The business phone was yellow.
What did he text you?
Zans.
How did you pay for drugs?
Cash. From the Gucci bag or security, usually Fahim.
In this text, what is flowers?
Marijuana.
Did you also call it tree?
Yes. Here Fahim tells me I'll get back paid once Duke comes on shift.
Did Mr. Combs have you take drugs?
Yes, to test his T.
Did you want to take it?
I wanted to prove my loyalty.
What were Wild King nights?
Mr. Combs and significant others, drugs, sex.
Did Jane participate in Wild King nights?
Yes.
Did Mr. Combs' other girlfriends participate in Wild King nights?
Not that I'm aware of.
Who called them Wild King nights?
KK, I just say, he's going to hotels.
Did Mr. Combs stop using hotels and move them to the residences?
Bias after the Cassie lawsuit.
What did you do?
Clean up after.
What does this say?
That Jane coming in, Brendan is setting it up, Wild King night probable.
Where did you make the reservation?
Nobu,
Where was this Wild King night?
Jane's residence. I wrote running to Walmart for them.
KK asks, Wild King mode active or Gucci bag active? What did you say?
Between the two.
How did you know what to buy for Mr. Combs' Wild King night?
We had a shared document in the Notes app.
Who was responsible for the Astroglide?
The property manager. I didn't think the 200 South Mapleton manager was good. So, photo. I took the photo to show the manager how to lay out the Astroglide in her bathroom.
How'd you put in for the cash?
Robin at TriStar.
Did Mr. Combs contact you from Wild King nights?
Yes, by voice notes or FaceTime. He called me to go get a sex outfit, but he never called me back.
How did you clean up after?
I wore gloves.
Why?
Sanitary reasons?
Is this a photo of the day of your arrest?
Yes. March 25th, 2024. Rented jet.
The cocaine you were arrested with, was it Mr. Combs?
At that point, the defense objected and the judge sustained it.
Was it yours?
No, it wasn't.
What is Mr. Combs?
At that point, the defense objected, but the judge overruled it.
Mr. Combs.
What did you do after arrest?
A diversion program, drug treatment.
No further questions?
At that point, the judge called for cross-examination.
You walked up to play basketball at Syracuse for an iconic coach?
Yes.
You played UNC, but COVID ended it?
Yes.
You weren't just a drug mule, were you?
At that point, the prosecution objected, but the judge overruled it.
I was not just that.
It was a minor part of what you did?
Absolutely.
Personal use?
At that point, the judge instructed the attorney to rephrase the question.
The hotel nights were personal?
At that point, the prosecution objected, and the judge asked for the question to be rephrased.
It was Mr. Combs and Jane, relaxation, personal, right. From your observation?
Yes.
Did you see Jane as hesitant?
I did not.
If you saw non-consensual activity, you would not have worked there, right?
At that point, the prosecution objected, and the judge sustained it.
You would not work for a criminal, would you?
No, I would not.
You care about your reputation?
Yes.
You were arrested for 27 grams, barely personal use. It was a mistake, right?
Yes.
And the case was dismissed?
Yes.
Did drugs make Sean more focused?
He got extremely creative.
As you sit here today, are you indebted to Sean Combs?
Good experiences for the most part.
No further questions.
At that point, the prosecution requested a sidebar before redirect. The judge agreed. Moments later, they returned to the courtroom.
Did you know what was happening in the Wild King nights?
At that point, the defense objected, and the judge instructed to rephrase the question.
Were you there?
What
did you think the $5,000 were for?
At that point, the defense objected, and the judge sustained it.
Did you give Mr. Combs $5,000 cash in another contexts?
No, I didn't.
You said you wouldn't work for a criminal, but you bought drugs for Mr. Combs?
Yes, more than 5 times less than 10.
How do you feel about Mr. Combs?
It's complicated.
No further questions.
No recross.
At that point, the judge dismissed Mr. Paul, and he left the stand. The judge then turned to the prosecution and said, "The government may call its next witness." At that point, the prosecution said, "First, some exhibits," and began reading text messages exchanged between Combs and KK on April 25th, 2023.
I can't take it no more. Album not done.
You can have release after the studio. We control our energy.
Whatever. Get me Frank.
At that point, the prosecution requested, "Play the audio message by Mr. Combs."
Have Jonathan do it.
Ms. Coram replies,
John will go to hotel.
"We have a bit more. Then we request a break."
At that point, the prosecution began reading aloud messages between Cassie Ventura and Sean Combs.
You bashed my head in.
You're crazy. Stop talking. Flipping on me for what? We're taking a break?
I don't want to be beaten down for standing up or ever.
I try to figure out how to get this nut out.
The prosecution, still reading the texts, says,
All I wanted was to have a good time, and you took all your anger out on me as per usual. You dragged me down the hall by my hair. This is not play fighting anymore. I was serious about Rita coming over. Boris had to tackle you, pup. That's not love. That's possession. I have bleeding cuts.
I'm not going to let someone shit on my when all I've done it be nice. You don't treat me like the king. You was acting like a
Talk to your people and they'll tell you. Or they won't, since all they do is suck you. I asked to have my record come out after 1,000,000 years.
At that point, the defense requested to read additional portions of the exhibits. The prosecution asked to confer with the defense, and the judge allowed it. And then they continued reading the texts.
You want to party and have a good time? I have to focus or I'm ever become anything. You treat me like a hook for 10 years. I love our FOs when we both want it.
And now they call the next witness to the stand.
The government calls Joseph Cerciello of Homeland Security Investigations 18 years. How many records have you reviewed for the charts in this trial?
Thousands.
What is the only female name in this chart?
Jane.
What's the name of hotel?
One Hotel, South Beach, Phil Pines, 5/22nd to 23rd, 21st, $3,050.90 for one night.
And this flight?
Jane, by JetBlue from New York to Miami.
Does the metadata match up?
Yes.
What's the name?
Jessica Ruiz, Mr. Combs' travel agent.
What were the charges for losses and damages?
$6,000.
Who flew on this one?
Jane and Cabral. Jane from LA to Miami to LA.
And Cabral?
Atlanta.
While the prosecution and Cerciello went back and forth over exhibits not shown to the public, the prosecution quietly released one message from Jane that had previously been withheld. And this is it.
What is this?
Hotel damage report at London Hotel, room 229. The report says, bodily fluids spread on the floor. Pictures attached as evidence.
Names column.
Jane, Combs, Reggie, Paul, and Cabral.
And these between Paul Arthur and Combs, then Jane.
Arthur Fitness LLC, an ATM cash deposit of $900, then $600.
And this?
More hotel damages.
Fahim's cell phone was seized?
Yes.
Here's another Jane message the prosecutors belatedly made available today. Here's another Jane message the prosecutors belatedly made available today, citing Gina and Young Miami.
Did Jonathan Perez send this to Fahim?
Yes.
And this is about Anton Antoine. Is it sorted by date? Please sort it, Ms. Becker.
Here's another message they made available from Sean Combs.
Who sends this message?
KK.
What does Jonathan write to Fahim?
He says, I don't know if you're holding $10,000. Fa said, trying to get some more now.
And this? June 20th, 2024, 1 year ago today.
That was it for today's testimonies in court.
What do you think about the direction this case is heading? Let us know in the comments below. We're following every moment. If you found this breakdown helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss tomorrow's developments.
All right, so we from Paul Brandon, okay, and I mean, they said that he barely had enough on him to even, be charged for personal consumption. Seemingly that Diddy was only using it for freak-off sessions, not to, traffic it or anything like that, or distribute and manufacture it. Okay, I got to get my brain wrapped back around Diddy trial, y'all. So yeah, let me see. Let's find some more. Trial footage coverage on Diddy. Remember, when you come into the show to like and subscribe. Found it. Girl, I was looking for this stat. Okay. So they got, why do they got Kanye West up here? Kanye West did not testify against Diddy. Okay, let's just go with Agent Penland. Okay, 1 second while I pull that back up on the screen. Hold on, y'all.
Until proven guilty.
Okay.
Listen at your
Go
own
over
discretion.
some,
The government calls Deliasa
that's
Penland
what
to
you
retake
said.
the stand. Good morning. Let's get back to London Hotel. Who stayed there this day?
Sean Combs, Cassie Venture, Jules Theodore.
What are these Amex charges?
Virgin America plane ticket for Jules Theodore.
What airline is associated with this charge?
American Airlines from JFK to LA.
And the hotel?
Four Seasons. For Clayton Howard, aka Dave.
Let's look at 6T108. What is this?
A travel invoice. Bad Boy Entertainment.
What is this?
A flight for Jules Theodore.
What was the payment method?
Sean Combs, American Express.
And whose name is this invoice in?
Mr. Philip Pines. $500 charge for damage to drapes.
What's this?
Booking for Intercontinental in Times Square in the name of Frank Black.
And this charge?
Damage to Penthouse. $46,786 paid on the American Express. That monthly bill was paid by various accounts at Signature Bank.
What's this charge?
The hotel in Riverhead.
Where's that?
Long Island, New York.
Is that where the Hamptons is?
Yes.
These communications?
Between Sean Combs and Cassandra Ventura. Color-coded.
What is this?
A call from Combs to Ventura for 41 seconds.
Let's read this. Skylar can come later.
Let's do Skylar. Then Skylar responds to Ventura.
Go to slide 4, please.
Skylar texts Ventura and says, "What area?" Then Skylar said, "I'm laying head down. Hit me up if we are getting together."
What do these boxes show?
3 photos taken by Ventura.
What day is this?
March 6th, 2016.
Walk us through.
Combs calls Ventura, no answer. Ventura texts Combs and says, "I checked with security. Jules left. You're good as long as you don't bother the other guests." Then there are unanswered calls.
What does Combs text Ventura?
He texts, "Call me, the cops are here." Then a call connects. Ventura makes a call to D-Rock. It connects. Then Combs calls Ventura, no answer.
This day?
March 5th, 2016. Ventura texts, "You are sick to think it is okay to do with what you have done. Please stay far away from me. I have a premiere."
What does Mr. Combs text Ventura?
He texts, "Call me. Help." Then he texts, "Help me. I am about to be arrested." Then he says, "If you don't pick up, you'll never hear my voice again."
Then what?
Call not answered. Then Coram calls Ventura. Here, Ventura calls D-Rock, then Coram. The calls connect.
What does D-Rock text?
D-Rock texts, "Tell him to get out of there before they arrest him." He not picking up.
What does Ms. Ventura text to Combs?
"Going to bed."
Now what? Morgan to Coram?
Carrie Morgan writes, "I don't think anyone should call her." And a photo of an LAPD detective's business card.
What next?
D-Rock and Corin each call Ventura. Then Corin asks, "What is Eddie's last name?"
What does D-Rock text to?
He says, "Cassie good. She eating breakfast." Then a 13-minute call between Combs and Ventura.
What does Mr. Nash write to Ventura?
He says, "What time can you today?" "Arturo is available 3 or 4 p.m. Ventura said, "Rocks." Then Combs calls Eddie Garcia. Garcia calls back.
What does Ventura text?
She texts, "This was supposed to be a big day for me. Now I wish I could just stay in bed."
And here?
Calls between Combs and Eddie Garcia.
And what's this?
A photo of Eddie Garcia's driver's license found on Christina Coram's phone.
Now by March 9th, 2016, what occurs?
Combs calls Eddie Garcia.
Then March 25th, 2016 at 1 p.m.?
Combs calls Eddie Garcia.
Agent Penland, other than these charts, did you have any involvement in this case?
No, I did not.
No further questions.
Now the cross-examination begins.
You've been at SDNY for 10 years?
Yes.
Let's turn to this date. Did you know Ms. Ventura was in South Africa then?
No, I did not.
You didn't try to find out who else is in this chat?
I did not.
You are a special agent?
Yes.
As a special agent, you know how to look for evidence, right?
At this point, the prosecution objected, but it was sustained.
Let's turn to August 2009. Under the name Sean Combs, you include several U.S. exhibits. Let's pull one up, August 5th, 2009. Mr. Combs says, "When do you want to freak off LOL?" What does Ms. Ventura say?
Cassie says, "I'm always ready to freak off."
Let's put up this defense exhibit. Ms. Ventura writes, "I'm so horny I can't concentrate. I'm going to Duane Reade. Pack us a bag. Did you include this in your chart?"
No, I didn't.
Here, Jules writes to Combs, "I need rest. You guys are rabbits. LOL. Right?"
Yes.
Here, Pop Pop writes to Ventura, "I love you so much. You consume my life. How did this happen?" And Ventura says, "I wonder that too." Right?
Yes.
Here, Jules writes to Ventura, "Great to see you, beautiful." And then, "I am at your door." Right?
Correct.
Here, Ms. Ventura writes, "I'm and bored." Right?
Yes.
Here, Mr. Combs says to Ms. Ventura, "I'm not asking you to FO. What do you want to do?" And she said, "I want to smoke. Go for a walk. Let's go out and have some carefree fun. I'll go get the Valium," right?
Yes.
Mr. Combs writes, "I liked it when Jules was in the room next door. Did you include this?"
Number, my job was not to add things, just to check if what was in was correct.
Mr. Combs writes, "You horny or sleepy?" And she?
Both, LOL.
Let's shut off the public screens and show these videos. Play the video.
At this point, they decided to take a break, and then they continued.
This is a stipulation that the video was found under the Frank Black profile on device provided by Cassandra Ventura. Here, Mr. Combs wrote, "Coming to NYC this weekend." What does Ms. Ventura reply?
It's really nice here. Mr. Combs writes, "I got us ticks for Book of Mormon." That was not in your exhibit, was it?
It was not. He writes, "You ready for tonight?" That's the day before the videos we looked at, right?
Correct.
If we could pull up what's already in evidence, page 18, please. This is not included in your chart, right?
Correct.
Ms. Ventura writes, "Keep having flashbacks of yesterday." You see that?
Yes.
What does Ms. Ventura write?
She writes, "I bought the best outfits for later and shoes."
What does she write?
She writes, "I promise I will be the nastier freak bitch to make up for it."
Oh my God.
What does Ms. Ventura
We're going to pause and take a couple of sips of that tea. So, I mean, a lot of tea's being spilled around about Diddy. A lot of people think that he's going to get off. As far as like public opinion is going, I have not heard one single shred of evidence that alludes to RICO charges. They're trying to, of course, put the prostitution on him and tie that into RICO, transferring, escort workers over state lines and things like that, cities, counties, whatever, however have you. They want Diddy. They got Diddy. We're going to see what they stick on Diddy, if anything. But this is wild testimony right here. What the agent Penland is reading, he says, what does Miss Ventura write? She writes, "I bought the best sexy outfits for later and shoes." What does she write? She writes, "I promise I will be the nastier freak itch to make up for it." Y'all, I like I said before, I really looked at Diddy on Cassie so she would put out a tell-all book, because I mean, a lot of us are seeing her as being a willing participant. Of course, we hate to see her be domestic abuse. However, when it comes to the freaking off, maybe occasionally, who wouldn't, you know what I'm saying, want rest from freaking off every day, all day. So we just see her wanting to do these freak offs, king nights with Diddy. What do y'all think? Drop it in the chat. Remember, when you come in, drop your teacups in the chat. Let me know that you're here, and that you are sipping this tea. Also, like and subscribe.
I bought the best outfits for later and shoes.
What does she write?
She writes, "I promise I will be the nastier freak bitch to make up for it."
What does Ms. Ventura write?
She writes, can't buy Astro, it's too expensive. When should I take it? Where is it?
Mr. Combs writes, it is in the bag. It's the orange pill. What does Ms. Ventura write here?
She writes, I can't wait until we have a baby. Happy Father's Day.
Mr. Combs writes, what do you want to do, baby?
She writes, I wish we could have FOED before you left.
What does Ms. Ventura write?
She writes, I hate it that I don't use protection. When I get high, I'm going to get tested.
Mr. Combs writes, let's freak off.
That's another thing that I want to sip some tea on. I don't know, a lot of my subbies, thank you guys for subbing. We're at like 1,020 subbies now, and that's incredible. We've been back up on YouTube for a month and a half, so that's just incredible work. I am, just over, I don't know if I don't think I'm the only one. I'm overwhelmed with the fact that Cassie wants to bring a baby into the situation of her and Diddy, and all of the ex that they're having, with other multiple partners unprotected. You would think that a woman would not, want that to be the ideal situation. So that goes back again to us seemingly believing that the reason why Cassie's doing this is for the money, the lifestyle, right? Okay. Drop it in the chat along with those teacups. What do you guys think? What are y'all sipping of this tea?
Off now. What does she write?
She writes, okay, what hotel?
Mr. Combs write, I'm locked in my bathroom talking to my therapist. What do you want to do?
She writes, it takes Jules hours to get here. Hotel needs you to call to give Dave access.
Do you see Dave Shirley writes to KK?
Yes.
You spoke on direct about Skylar?
Yes.
And the message about the cops are here. But there's not evidence of any 911 calls, right?
There is not.
This photo of the detective's business card is the only thing about police, right?
At this point, the prosecution objects, but it was sustained.
You included a call between Ventura and Combs. Was that a FaceTime call?
I don't know.
No further questions.
At this point, the judge asks if the prosecution wants to do a redirect.
Yes, briefly. The hotel in Riverhead, who was there?
Sean Combs, Cassandra Ventura, and Clayton Howard.
This photo.
So you can remember?
Nothing further.
And that was it for today's testimony in the Diddy case. What's your take on the courtroom developments? Drop your thoughts.
Okay, so there's more tea, of course, to sip. Let's get over into it. Okay. Thank you guys for sipping tea with Tanisha Talks Teas. Let's go into the drug mule, Brandon Paul.
Please be advised that viewer discretion is strongly recommended. None of the content presented here has been...
Heard that. We just heard that. Okay. So, I mean, what do you guys think while I look for more explosive tea for us to sip on? I am just amazed at this entire trial, how they have based a complete RICO on these, findings of Diddy. If anything, we, sip this tea all throughout the entire trial. I think that Diddy, if anything, should have been prosecuted in the state court, not, the Fed. So let's see.
Please be advised that viewer discretion is strongly recommended. None of the content presented here has been exaggerated or taken out of context. These are the exact statements made by the prosecution team, defense team, Ananya Sankar, and special agent. On June 16, 2025, some words have been censored to comply with YouTube's guidelines. What you're about to hear is a voiced-over reading of Ananya Sankar and special agent's testimony in the Sean Diddy Combs trial. Source: courtroom reporter at Inner City Press on X.com. All parties are presumed innocent until proven guilty. Listen at your own discretion.
First, some exhibits entered under seal, subject to connection. Now we call our first witness, Ms. Sankar. What did you work on in this case?
2 summary charts. I was asked to verify the accuracy of...
Can you describe the documents underlying these charts?
Hundreds of pages.
Who is in the messages in the chart?
Christina Coram.
And whose cell number is this?
Brendan Paul.
How did Ms. Coram respond to Mr. Lopez about seeing the escort?
4 laughing emojis. How long is he going to stay awake?
And this one from January 30th, 2023. It is an audio file?
Yes.
Ms. Foster, please play the first minute and 10 seconds. What did Christina Coram say in this?
She says he's going to the Four Seasons and wants you to bring Gatorade and chicken noodle soup.
Read these. I'll be Dave Shirley, Rocky riding with him.
As KK. No to Rock. Can you run $4,000 cash from Rock to the hotel?
Sure.
Heads up, he's about to do Wild King tonight.
Forgot to pick up the money. Just give it to Fahim just in case. What does the hotel write to Ms. Coram?
Hotel called. Paul is coming up.
Does Paul appear elsewhere in the chart?
Yes.
Let's turn off the exhibit screens to the public and press. Please read these between Jane and Mrs. Coram.
As KK. Ask them if they can bring up 15 bath towels.
He always bring between 5 and 10K. They are expecting people to leave the presidential suite at 1 p.m.
As KK. We're taking off.
Going ahead in time, could we...
At this moment, the defense objected, and they continued.
I withdraw, going ahead in time. Who is this between?
Sean Combs and Christina Coram. They say Guido hasn't dropped off the package yet.
What does Coram write to Sean Combs?
She writes, Guido outside. Combs replies with an audio message.
Play it.
At this moment, an audio was played in court, and it was Diddy saying, "About Guido, take care of it, please."
And what does Christina Coram respond?
Done.
Do some of these messages involve Cassie Ventura?
Yes.
Page 5, May 2nd, 2017. What are these?
Text between Cassie Ventura and KK.
As Ventura, WTF.
As KK. Are you okay?
As Ventura, no one deserves to be dragged by hair. Row 87 to 92, April 20th, 2018. Cassie and KK. As Cassie, I just can't anymore.
As KK, I'm here for you. Heart emoji.
As Cassie, I'm bummed, but don't want to derail.
As KK, definitely don't derail. It's not worth it.
Let's turn to Jane's messages. You read Jane.
As Jane, we got into a fight. I'm not doing hotel night. I'll bring him a cake.
What is the date of this filing?
November 16th, 2023.
What are these?
Audio files from November 19th, 2023.
Play it.
At this moment, an audio was played in court, and it said, "This, audio, phone ringing, Combs' voice. We can't really talk on this phone. You know what I'm saying? I called, I reached out. You know what I'm saying? My love is definitely true. Just some kinky that I thought we definitely enjoyed. Audio, Jane. I don't know." Voice cracks. It's like word for word. It's like crazy to me. It feels sick. Combs. But like you know, they turn off audio.
Play the next one.
At this moment, an audio was played in court, and it said, "This, audio, Combs, I really need your friendship right now. Don't send no texts. Combs, recorded audio. I just needed to tell you, I need your friendship. Baby, I gotta meet my moms. You know what I'm saying? Please pray for me, Jane." Okay, they turn off audio.
3 days later, what are these?
KK writes, we all know you're kryptonite.
As Combs, please make sure Robin makes sure that rent is paid.
As KK, Robin said her rent was paid.
What is this?
An image found on Ms. Coram's phone from December 28, 2023, a photo of a cell phone screen. It says, I lost work opportunities. As Jane, you broke me. You asked me what I needed to move on, and now you're upset.
Who are these between?
As Jane to KK. He said he would send the tapes by my baby daddy. I'm traumatized. He asked me who I'm seeing over and over again. As Jane, he said he'll send the tapes to the father of my child. On them, I'm drugged. I'm beyond hurt by him.
What does Ms. Coram say?
As KK, I haven't spoken with him.
And these photos of a cell phone, can you read them?
As Jane, you have everything up. You win.
What are these?
Videos found on KK's device.
Ms. Foster, play it.
Audio. Woman's voice, like $1,000.
What's in the photo?
Like a long manicured nail.
What does KK write?
As KK, they just chilling at his house? Out to shop like King Knight mode or Gucci bag mode? LOL.
Your Honor, we could break here.
At this moment, they took a break, then continued.
Mr. Sankar, what does this exhibit show?
Messages of Sean Combs and Damian Butler, aka D-Rock, and Mia.
Turn off the screens to the public and press. Please read D-Rock's messages.
As D-Rock, love you man, if you need a friend, I'm here.
As Combs, I'll call you back, talking to the kids.
As D-Rock to Mia, where are you?
As Mia, Virginia Beach.
D-Rock texts her number to Combs.
As Mia, to D-Rock, I didn't have my phone, I was scuba diving.
As D-Rock, we're opening up a new restaurant on the 17th. He says he doesn't want anything from you.
As Mia, super smart to stay in your bubble. As Mia, I am on this island off the coast of Honduras.
As D-Rock, I'll love to hear about Honduras. Let me know how I can send you something.
As Mia, I never ask for anything.
As R-Doc, I'm allowed to send my sister a gift.
Did you have any other involvement in this case?
No,
No further questions.
Mrs. Sanker, this message from Damian Butler to Sean Combs. Let's pull up the exhibit. Line 363, days earlier, the legal filing. Please read Nat Moore.
As Nat. The article could have been worse. They are calling it a breakup fight.
Let's read some messages not included in the chart. Jane writes, I can be dropped off at my building's front desk. And KK writes, he speaks directly with PD. I don't deal with him LOL, right?
Right.
Jane writes to KK, pulling up to airport, smiley face. I'm excited to surprise him. May I cover with AUSA Foster?
At this moment, I believe they had a sidebar, then continued.
I think we need to shut off the screens for the public. November 22nd, 2023, between Jane and KK, right?
Yes.
Jane said, I'm not doing any more hard partying. Then this one about the 3 years of wasted time. Here is KK to Mr. Perez asking, how does he look? And Mr. Perez replies, shockingly good, better than before, right?
Yes.
Nothing further.
At this moment, they called their next witness. The next witness is another special agent, about more charts. These about certain meetings. Chart being shown is about meeting in the London hotel, involving Sean Combs, Cassie Venture, and Jules. And chart shown lists flights taken by meeting participants, including Jules Theodore, aka Jules, and Cassandra Ventura.
A special agent on the chart.
At this moment, the defense objected, and they had a sidebar, then continued.
When you say attended, do you mean to say the people concerned appeared from records, absent a video, to have attended?
Yes.
Who are the participants in this chat?
Jules and Sean Combs.
You read Jules.
As Jules. I'm available Friday through Sunday, whatever flights work. Which one?
As Combs. Friday at 4. Where are the flights between?
LA and JFK in New York.
Do document retention policies impact your ability to get documents?
Yes, I could not get these records.
At this moment, they took a lunch break, then continued.
Special agent, have you reviewed American Express records?
I have. This was to American Express for a flight from Miami for Cassandra Ventura. Here was a charge from the London hotel to this American Express account.
Whose American Express account?
Sean Combs, paid with an account at Signature Bank.
Can you read this?
It's the Trump in Columbus Circle. I'm heading there now. Can you contact the front desk and get the channel unlocked?
What does Ms. Ventura say?
Just called them.
Who is in these communications?
Cassandra Ventura and NY Punish, aka Sheree Hayes.
What is it about?
The cost.
And this?
Videos.
Turn off the screen for the public and press. We are not playing it for counsel since their screens are viewable from the gallery. Play from 10:30 to 11 minutes. Okay, Special Agent Penland, I want to direct your attention to line 23. I will read Mr. Combs, you read Ms. Ventura. As Combs. You horny? Would you want to have a freak off?
As Cassie. Call Jules. Can you send me the hotel info? About to smoke. What are you doing?
As Combs. What up?
As Cassie. I asked him to drive around, and we will hit him when we want him to come up.
Reading. I'm a bit more sexually excited than last time. Dress casually and bring baby oil.
As Cassie. Casual, yes. Baby oil, no.
As Johnny L.A. Strip. On my way to L'Ermitage.
As Cassie. Do you mind driving around until I tell you?
We could break here.
And that was the end of the trial for today. What did you think about these testimonies? Do you think this helps the prosecution with the RICO charges? Let me know in the comments down below.
I don't. So let's get into some law and order stuff, unless there's another one of audio to listen to. There hasn't really been that much testimony. I heard that a day, because jurors were excluded, and then I guess a juror got sick or whatever, that they went a day without testimony. So let's listen to this. Cassie, disturbing audio leaked to the public. Diddy trial update. Thanks for sipping tea with Tanisha.
A leaked audio recording.
Please remember to like and subscribe when you come in and fill up your teacup.
Allegedly of Cassie Ventura has just surfaced, and it's the most chilling clip yet to emerge in the Sean Diddy Combs case.
I'm going to kill you. You don't understand. I don't give a I've never killed anybody in my life, but I will kill you because you're with me. You're with me in my life right now.
This recording, obtained from courtroom playback during cross-examination, captures Cassie threatening a man over what prosecutors say is an explicit video tied to one of Diddy's so-called freakoffs. She doesn't stop there.
Pull it up. If you have it, pull that up. Because if not, I'm gonna kill you and then he's gonna kill you again. So just do it. Pull that up right now. You got that pull that up.
Clear, but legal analysts believe Cassie may be referencing Diddy himself, either as a threat or a reflection of the dangerous environment she felt trapped in.
No, I will kill you if you don't show me right now. I will kill you and I will hide you and I will cut you up and put you in the dirt right now. I'm going to kill you. You don't understand. I don't give a I've never killed anybody in my life, but I will kill you.
Her tone is unhinged, spiraling. But is this a threat from a predator or a woman breaking down after years of alleged abuse? That's the legal and moral debate playing out in court right now.
Because you're with me. You're with me in my life right now. If I saw a video of you doing anything that you didn't want people to see, I would show you the video so you could tell me what the happened.
This moment suggests that Cassie may have discovered a video involving the man she's threatening, a video she wasn't supposed to see, leading to a complete emotional breakdown.
You're playing games with me, telling me you saw some now you're saying you didn't see some you're with me. I'm going to you up.
In court, Diddy's defense played this audio to undermine Cassie's credibility, suggesting she was aggressive, unstable, and possibly even violent herself. But the prosecution argues the opposite, that this clip proves how deeply she was traumatized, consumed by fear, rage, and paranoia.
I don't think you understand. And it's not going to be my hands, and it's not going to be blood on my hands. Someone else is going to do it. So you have to tell me?
Here, Cassie claims that someone else would carry out the threat, hinting at the kind of power and pressure that prosecutors say Diddy had over those around him. This leaked audio may be just a few minutes long, but it speaks volumes. It captures the emotional unraveling of someone allegedly trapped in a violent, controlled environment. And it's now part of a larger federal case built on accusations of racketeering, coercion, trafficking, and abuse. So, what does this mean for the trial? Is this audio a turning point or a red flag for the jury? Let us know what you think in the comments. Subscribe for full trial coverage, unfiltered testimony, and behind-the-scenes updates.
That's crazy. Now, we knew a little bit about this was going to be coming out, right? Before the trial started, about Cassie threatening Diddy. Let's listen to that one more time. Man, I hate you. Please go sit down and shut up somewhere.
And it's the most chilling clip yet to emerge in the Sean Diddy Combs case.
I'm going to kill you. You don't understand. I don't give a I've never killed anybody in my life, but I will kill you because you're with me. You're with me in my life right now.
This recording obtained from
I'm not laughing about the nature of the things that Diddy and Cassie did. I find it very repulsive. Not for nothing. He like, how you gonna kill me? Like, what have I done to you that's so terrible? Like, come on. You've been with the shits. Like, stop it. I had a freak out. She probably talking about 50 Cent baby mama. Because 50 Cent baby mama was coming into the picture right when Cassie was exiting, I believe.
Courtroom playback during cross-examination captures Cassie threatening a man over what prosecutors say is an explicit video tied to one of Diddy's so-called freakoffs. She doesn't stop there.
Pull it up. If you have it, pull that up. Because if not, I'm going to kill you, and then he's going to kill you again. So just do it. Pull that up right now. You got that pull that up.
The he mentioned in unclear, but legal analysts believe Cassie may be referencing Diddy himself, either as a threat or a reflection of the dangerous environment she felt trapped in.
No, I will kill you if you don't show me right now. I will kill you and I will hide you and I will cut you up and put you in the dirt right now. I'm going to kill you. You don't understand. I don't give a I've never killed anybody in my life, but I will kill you.
Her tone is unhinged, spiraling. But is this a threat from a predator or a traumatized woman breaking down after years of alleged abuse? That's the legal and moral debate playing out in court right now.
Because you're with me. You're with me in my life right now. If I saw a video of you doing anything that you didn't want people to see, I would show you the video so you could tell me what the happened. happened.
This moment suggests that Cassie may have discovered a video involving the man she's threatening, a video she wasn't supposed to see, leading to a complete emotional breakdown.
You're playing games with me, telling me you saw some. Now you're saying you didn't see some. You're with me. I'm going to you up.
In court, Diddy's defense played this audio to undermine Cassie's credibility, suggesting she was aggressive, unstable, and possibly even violent herself. But the prosecution argues the opposite, that this clip proves how deeply she was traumatized, consumed by fear, rage, and paranoia.
I don't think you.
Where do y'all see fear in this? I don't hear anybody being scared. Most scared people don't threaten to kill people. I mean, you may, so that the other person will try to like maybe underestimate you. But I don't hear fear.
You understand. And it's not going to be my hands, and it's not going to be blood on my hands. Someone else is going to do it. So you have to tell me?
Here, Cassie
even talking about hiring a hitman on Diddy. Why are you going to kill me?
claims that someone else would carry out the threat, hinting at the kind of power and pressure that prosecutors say Diddy had over those around him. This leaked audio may be just a few minutes long, but it speaks volumes. It captures the emotional unraveling of someone allegedly trapped in a violent, controlled environment, and it's now part of a larger federal case built on accusations of racketeering, coercion, trafficking, and abuse. So, what does this mean for the trial? Is this audio a turning point or a red flag for the jury? Let us know what you think in the comments. Subscribe for full trial coverage, unfiltered testimony, and behind-the-scenes updates as the Diddy trial continues.
Okay, like I said, y'all, I don't see it. Okay, I just don't. But the trial's going on, so must we. Thank you, sippers. I don't know what happened to my kickers. Like my following went down, but not for nothing. Thank you guys for all sipping tea. We're up on Diddy's update, so. Looks like the trial's been put on pause. Law and Crime Network says. So let's just jump in here somewhere. It looks like the last week of Diddy's trial has been kind of up and down all around. Okay. Let's find out where they're sipping tea. Okay, anyway, I don't know why my thing long, but I may have a bug. I've been watching movies on my computer. No, as I've been saying throughout this entire trial, they brought us to believe a lot of speculation about the Diddy trial. Unfortunately, now that I'm not seeing RICO charges. You know, I pointed out some state charges that I think that they may have probably dropped the ball on being able to prosecute Diddy on now because of statutes. But let's jump right on into law and crime. Thank you, law and crime. We're going to put on my
a man named Sujit, I think that's probably how you pronounce it, over him viewing a sex tape of her, a freak-off tape of her. And I want to play a portion of it, and we're going to talk about.
I don't know, they're a little low, but I hope you guys can hear.
Relevant. Let's play it for you right now.
So you have it or you don't have it? Can you just be clear with me? Do you have it?
I saw it and I don't want to ever see it again.
I know you don't, but I want to see it.
Yeah, but I don't want to see it.
Yeah, you don't have to see it, but it's my life and I'll kill you.
Yeah, but
No, I will kill you if you don't show me right now. I will kill you and I will hide you and I will cut you up and put you in the dirt right now. Pull it up. If you have it, pull that up. Because if not, I'm going to kill you and then he's going to kill you again. So just do it. Pull that up right now.
Whatever's on that X tape, y'all, is explosive. I'm hearing a lot of shit going on saying that Diddy's X tapes, Cassie's X tapes, 50 Cent's baby mama's X tapes will be leaked. What do y'all think? I think they'll be leaked, y'all.
He, seemingly referring to Sean Combs. Okay, I want to talk about this right now. And by the way, I have a bunch of super chat questions coming in. I will get to those in 1 second. Thank you so much, everybody, for submitting those. But we got with us civil rights attorney Joe Richardson. We have with us criminal defense attorney and civil rights attorney Tyler Bailey. And in studio, former state attorney from Palm Beach County, Florida. And by the way, author now, Dave Arenberg. It's great to have you all here. Dave, I'll start with you because you've made it in. And also, you have this great book. Let's promote it. Fighting the Florida Shuffle. Real quick. 10 elevator pitch, 20 seconds of this book.
The federal government, through well-intended laws, has enabled corruption in the drug treatment industry. It's a relapse model, not a recovery model. But Palm Beach County, where I was the prosecutor, we found a way to fix the problem.
And that's a really important and relevant topic that's happening right now, so I'm glad you're able to expose and shed a little bit light on it. I'm glad to hear you're having some positive results. So again, everybody can check it out. Fighting the Florida Shuffle. Didn't even bring me a signed copy. Whatever.
Next
it's
time.
fine. Okay, let's talk about that. That audio. Now, does that benefit the prosecution and the defense? Because I believe it came up during cross-examination of Cassie.
So when you have a criminal or any criminal trial, it's not just the defendant that's on trial, really the key witnesses too. So are the lawyers for that matter. So everyone needs to be on good behavior. When they see and hear an audio tape where Cassie seems to be the aggressor, where she's threatening someone's life, it takes away her status a little bit as a victim and makes her less sympathetic. So I think all in all, this benefits the defense.
I would say, just to counter-argue that, couldn't the prosecution argue, hey, it shows how scared she was of a tape of her. She was so scared. She's threatening a man's life. Diddy allegedly was going to release videos of her unless he got what he wanted.
Yes, well, but there was already testimony to that effect, that she was scared, that she didn't want those tapes put out there. What there wasn't is that she's out there on her own volition threatening people. So it really does take away her role as a victim that is sympathetic, a mother going into labor who is crying on the stand. Here, she's the one threatening to cut someone up.
Yeah,
I don't think that's good for the
prosecution. It's not great. And speaking about the prosecution, again, I'm going to get to these super chat questions, but we just got an update in court. So the judge has just asked the prosecution, how many more on direct, Miss Comey? I assume that means how many more witnesses. Comey responds, and this is Maureen Comey, to midday on Monday, I hope Miss Garagos, that's Tenny Garagos, Sean Combs' defense counsel, I hope Miss Garagos can finish her cross-examination by the end of Monday. Judge says then, Rule 29, Mr. Agnifilo, referring to Mark Agnifilo, another one of Sean Combs' defense attorneys, he responds, we'll be on the shorter side. We'll tell the government over the weekend. He says, if the government rests at the end of Monday, I think we'll rest Tuesday or Wednesday. And the judge says, I'll send the proposed charge today. You send edits Tuesday evening. We could do the charge conference on Wednesday. Closings Thursday. We're coming to the end of this trial by next week, Tyler?
That's what it sounds like, and I'm surprised. I'm honestly surprised. 2 days for the defense's case in chief. From what I've been hearing, a lot of strong points from the prosecution. They have scored, I think, the defense some points on cross-examination. like was just referenced regarding painting Ms. Ventura out to be, not the sympathetic witness, but more so of a possible actor cutting somebody up herself. But unless they have a really strong couple of days, that's going to change this jury's mind of the 5 weeks worth of testimony that they've heard. I don't see it going well for them, but we'll see. Maybe they just have a strong case.
Joe, does that mean he's not testifying? Because if he was going to testify, they would say our case is going to be a little bit longer, Judge, right? Wouldn't the defense say that?
Right. Yeah, I think we can be very clear that he's not going to testify, which would have been a bad idea anyway. It just opens up too many things. So yeah, I would agree with the point made. It is kind of interesting that they seem that they want to hit it and quit it very quickly, which, there's a little bit of a risk there, but they must be awfully confident in their case for them to actually say that. Now, see if it actually ends up happening that way. It's just 2 days of presentation, but it would evoke some confidence about how they think things ought to come out, certainly on the bigger charges.
Okay, I'm going to go to questions. We got super chat questions coming in, 2 from Smarty Pants. So first of all, we got first question. Jesse, what's your favorite cocktail? How great's our audience? Well, first of all, this might become a shock to everybody. I don't drink. So, this is so boring. I love water. I really love water. But if, I'm feeling a little adventurous, maybe a little orange juice. If I'm on a plane, maybe a little apple juice because I'm a 5-year-old child. And when I'm really feeling adventurous, unsweetened iced tea. But, that's for those rare occasions, Dave. Okay, better question we got coming in. This is from, again, Smarty Pants. Did Brendan's testimony help or hurt the defense? Now, let me just lay out a little bit. About what Brendan Paul testified to. So he talked about, remember, this was he played basketball for Syracuse University. He talked about how when he was hired, he was basically said, don't have a girlfriend because you're never going to see her. Talking about, the job commitment here, that he worked for him until he got arrested at a Florida airport for possession of cocaine, that he got arrested sweeping Mr. Combs' room, that he stayed awake for this job. It was a very demanding job. He would take Adderall, he would take cocaine. His job was to always make sure Mr. Combs was always happy. Combs didn't take no for an answer. His job was getting drugs for Combs, or at least that was a portion of his job. He used aliases, said the drugs were for him as a way to insulate Sean Combs from this. The drugs were paid using this Gucci bag, or security would pay for the drugs. He also testified about the Wild King nights and how he and others helped set them up. Who do you think he helped? Oh, by the way, and the cash came from Robin at TriStar, this entertainment company. Talk to us about what you think, did his testimony help or hurt the prosecution or the defense?
It helps the prosecution. I've always thought that the toughest charge to prove here was racketeering. I think they got him on human trafficking, and I agree with you, the easiest charge is the Mann Act, the prostitution charge. I think they got him there. Not totally sure if they're able to convince a jury beyond a reasonable doubt about RICO. You need an ongoing criminal enterprise. You need to show that you've got employees who are doing your bidding, doing crimes like drugs, like human trafficking, setting things up. Well, that's where Brendan Paul comes into play. So I think it definitely helps the prosecution.
Tyler, we got this question coming in from Stephanie Franklin. Brendan Paul didn't give a lot of testimony. I thought he was the smoking gun.
Yeah, I don't think his testimony was that helpful for the government. I think they've already scored some points on showing others who have been involved in the criminal enterprise. I think he actually kind of helped the defense. Talk about Jane voluntarily, never being remorseful about participating in the Freakoffs. You also heard him come out as a legitimate person. He graduated from Syracuse. He was all ACC athletic or academic. And he seems like a legit business person. And he only had a little bit of cocaine on him when he was caught in the airport. Certainly does not go to the level of being deemed a drug mule. So I think it kind of cuts both ways. And he said that his relationship with Mr. Combs was complicated.
Yep.
Didn't say too much, but I think he said enough.
By the way, this is B-roll shot of him actually coming out of the federal courthouse. It was interesting, Joe, him on cross-examination, what the defense questioned him about. They basically said, you're not just a drug mule, were you, right? It was getting drugs was just a minor part of what you did. You didn't see Jane, alleged victim 2 in this case, as hesitant, to engage in these sexual episodes, that he wouldn't work for a criminal. Did you know that you were, the prosecution is basically saying this is a criminal mastermind, right? Sean Combs is the leader of a criminal organization. You wouldn't work for a criminal. You care about your reputation. That he was arrested for a minor drug offense. And that also they question whether drugs made Sean Combs more focused, maybe to say drugs weren't, primarily used to keep victims compliant, but he used them for other reasons. You think that was an effective? Cross-examination?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there was a part in which I believe that they suspected that he would have that doesn't want to come off as a snitch, doesn't want to come off as the reason why P. Diddy's going to jail. That's why he emphatically said he wasn't a drug mule. That's why he said that what was happening with Jane seemed to be voluntary. That's why he said he didn't snitch anybody out when he was rolled up. He didn't say that it was Diddy's drugs. But once it got talked about, he was saying, I kept small amounts for his personal use. So as it pertains to their objectives, we'll see where their objectives go and if they end up undermining the case the way that the defense wants it to. But the defense did not have, it was not an adversarial cross with him. They seemed to get the things that they wanted because, and then his attorney issues a statement afterward and says, it's almost like hey, he's testified. Will you leave us alone now? Basically, it's almost like he's got his own campaign to make sure that he's not part of this big, larger criminal conspiracy, et cetera. And if that's the case, and he's supposed to be the one known and a part of it, that would suggest that P. Diddy isn't either.
We're going to get more of your questions coming. I see a lot of questions coming in for Elizabeth. We're working on getting her up here as well. But Dave, it goes to this question, right, of racketeering. I think the more that he says, what was your job description? Well, your job description was, my job description was to make Sean Combs happy. Isn't that the common purpose? Doesn't that go to the racketeering? What's the common purpose? To serve Sean Combs. Remember one of the assistants that testified, David James, when he got his job, he was told, it's Sean Combs' kingdom. We're all here to serve it. Is that enough for racketeering? Is that enough to show there's a criminal enterprise, a common purpose?
Not by itself, but in combination with other evidence, it helps. And I agree with my colleagues that I don't think it moves the needle a lot, but I do think if you want to know which side he benefits, I think it's the prosecution. I think it does help on the racketeering charge, but no, it was not a game changer, his testimony. But then again, I don't know if he was supposed to be. Cassie really is the witness who connects all the dots. This witness is helpful for racketeering, but they need other stuff to get that far.
Yeah, and I think, the charts, the travel receipts, the assistants. There was something about this, Tyler, as I'm watching this, and I'm watching this. There's no cameras in the courtroom. What am I talking about? As I'm listening to this, I'm reading about this. And he's going through the binder of the different Sean Combs associates and assistants. I'm starting to see the idea of a criminal organization, Sean Combs allegedly using his assistants, staff, and managers to facilitate. If the jury accepts that these Wild King nights or Freakoffs are crimes, if they accept that, and you start to see all the people that were involved in it, you can see how they're building a racketeering case. Whether or not it sticks, I'm not sure, but you can at least see how they're trying to stick to it, right, Tyler?
yeah, you can clearly see that they're building a racketeering case. And all these employees who work for Mr. Combs, they wore two hats. Mainly, they were hired for legit jobs, but it's clear through the testimony and evidence presented that they did help further some of the freak-offs, which are being portrayed as criminal activity, as racketeering. You have hotels being booked. You have things being purchased by different witnesses, whether it's Brendan Paul, who just testified, or some of the other witnesses who testified. So you see there's criminal acts that Mr. Combs is allegedly committing in these freak-offs, and his employees and team is helping him further commit those acts. So that's enough for racketeering. The question is going to be is whether this jury believes that the freak-offs are criminal activity. They may believe these victims are willing participants, that they consented, and if the defense presents a strong case furthering their interpretation of it, they'll be fine.
You're getting an important call. Somebody's not happy with your answer. They're like, I'm calling in right now. I don't agree with Tyler. All right, before we go to Elizabeth.
It looks like a lot of people are talking about Sean, right? I'm not necessarily for his character, but just for the charges that he's being brought up on. Drop down in the chat. Let me know how you guys feel while we're listening to P. Diddy ex trafficking trial USA versus Sean Combs, day 27.
Joe, let me go to you real quick. This is from Richard Essiaw, who's been, so generous with his questions over the past several weeks as we've been doing these lunchtime shows, and has the super chat question. Is it fair to assume that Christina Quorum and D-Rock, remember this is one of Sean Combs' security members, will be separately charged as a co-conspirator after Diddy, since they weren't called to testify?
I don't expect that they'd be prosecuted at all. The pressure was if they were going to be prosecuted, you should prosecute them this time, right? And the fact of the matter is, whether they should have been or not, your sense of justice and fairness says if anybody is a co-conspirator, should be charged as such. The government decided not to bring a case against either of them. And because they decided not to bring a case against either of them, I don't think we're going to see it. P. Diddy is the one that they want, and this is it.
All right, we're going to hit a break. Elizabeth Milner's coming on up. I have a bunch of questions from our viewers for her. Stay with us here on Law and Crime. We'll be right back right after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. So we have with us Elizabeth Milner, Law and Crime's in-court reporter, who's been there every day for the action, every day of testimony, and we have so many questions coming in now for Elizabeth. Elizabeth, really good to see you. Before I even go to the more substantive questions, let me give you some praise that we got here. This is from Morty Von Eltberg. Thank you. Please let Jesse know if he's ever in Atlanta. I would love to have a cocktail or 12 with him. Also, you all are amazing. That's very sweet. Gene Sluter says, I want my own Jesse and Elizabeth to break down everything in my life for me. Well, that is just disaster. I don't think you want that, but it's very, very kind. All right, so we got the first question from Fabiola Delgado Lebron. Queen Elizabeth, did the defense look stressed during testimony?
Not one bit. I personally didn't think that they seemed stressed during today's testimony, especially once Brendan Paul got on the witness stand. I was kind of thinking that the testimony overall would go one direction, especially given the lawsuit. But given that we saw him kind of testify today, it didn't even go the way I kind of thought it was going. And that's one of the biggest things about this case specifically, is you think it's going to go in one direction, then it goes into another direction. So from what I could tell, the defense didn't seem stressed. And I don't want to say that they didn't seem stressed and like they were so like calm, cool, and collective in an arrogant way. It was nothing like that. But it seems like, especially as we're kind of getting towards the end of trial here, that they don't seem as stressed as maybe people may think they are. But again, we never know what's going on through their heads and that type of sort. But from what I could tell, they seem kind of still, pretty surface level as far as just the feelings of emotions from what I could tell sitting inside the courtroom.
Question from Denise Lopez. Elizabeth, how was the tension in the room when Brendan Paul testified? And did he make eye contact with Diddy?
I didn't think that there was going to be a tense moment between the two, especially given kind of the demeanor it's been with other assistants testifying. And so because Diddy wasn't present when Brendan Paul got his immunity deal outside of the presence of the jury, I thought there might be kind of a big moment where maybe Brendan Paul didn't even want to look in Diddy's direction while he kind of approached the witness stand. But from what I could see of him, Diddy did kind of what he normally does when maybe a compelling witness might come up and testify. Is he kind of turned around in his defense chair and he kind of watched Brendan Paul take the witness stand. But I couldn't feel like necessarily a tense atmosphere as opposed to maybe when Jane was testifying or even as far as when Cassie was testifying. But from what I could tell, even when Brendan Paul got off the witness stand, I think he kind of looked in Diddy's direction. I don't think there was kind of like just like a nod to one another, a smile to one another from what I could see. But it didn't feel as tense as maybe I thought it was going to be when he entered the courtroom.
So I have two questions for you that are very similar. They're about Sean Combs because you are our eyes and ears. There are no cameras in that courtroom. There is no audio equipment in that courtroom. But listen to this from Joe Lucas. Elizabeth, great reporting. Feels like I'm there. I mean, what better compliment can you get than that? So Joe Lucas asks, what is Diddy's demeanor like today as it's coming up to the end of the prosecution's case? And RD asks, Elizabeth, have you seen Combs look at the jury much since he got in trouble? Remember, he did get in trouble with the judge after a really, I would say, beneficial moment of cross-examination of a key witness in this case. He was accused of nodding at the jury. So what's his demeanor like, and has he been looking at the jury?
Well, I'll take the second question first. Yes, I did see him kind of looking over towards the jury's direction today during testimony, but not kind of as animated as maybe he has been in the past as far as nodding goes and all of that stuff. I really just kind of think I saw him just looking in their direction maybe to get, maybe what their demeanor was, kind of listening to all these text messages, listening to Brendan Paul testify again too. But as far as just his demeanor overall, it's still kind of the same thing. As if he's feeling any type of worry or anxiety about what the future may hold, I haven't been seeing that necessarily. And again, not in like a cocky or an arrogant type of way, but really just kind of maybe possibly a more poker face kind of way, where if there's any type of emotional feeling that he is having and it's not reading over his face, maybe it's in his mind, it's something that we're not seeing, but as far as just his demeanor overall, he kind of is still doing what he's been doing. He's taking his notes, he's listening to testimony, he's jotting his notes down to his defense attorneys. The few moments that I do see him kind of maybe beam up in a sense is when he sees his family inside the courtroom, so kind of turning around, saying hello to his son, saying hello to his mom, his sister. But as far as any type of worrisome demeanor, I haven't seen that, but you never know what's going on through his mind.
Are they there today? Is his family there?
Yep, his family is here today. I saw his sons, just Justin and Christian Combs today, his sister Keisha, his mom, Janice, and then of course his friend Charlucci, who's been inside that courtroom pretty much as I've been. Even before the trial began, he was always attending those pretrial hearings too. So he did have his support system inside the courtroom today too.
We got this question from Ilana Rodriguez. I absolutely love Jesse and Elizabeth. Oh, they're both great. And Jesse, I love the hair. Thank you so much. Question, Elizabeth. So this is important because we found this out. It was actually shocking. We found it out, 15 minutes ago? Elizabeth, when will the trial be over? And when will the prosecution government be done with their case? I mean, we just found out when this is basically going to wrap up, right?
Yes, we did, and it's coming closer to an end pretty much faster than I was expecting to. So because we didn't have court the full day on Wednesday, and of course we had the day off yesterday, it kind of pushed the government's case back just a little bit. So they plan on wrapping up this final summary witness on Monday. Then the cross-examination will happen. That'll probably take a few hours, and then the government plans on resting their case as early as Monday. So that could be a big difference. I think probably the biggest thing, though, Jesse, is that the defense says that they plan that their case will be a lot shorter than expected. Now, originally, Mark Agnifilo was saying, okay, maybe it might be 2 to 5 trial days that they were planning for the defense case, but he was saying, as far as just when the defense plans on resting their case in chief, that could happen as soon as Tuesday or Wednesday. And then, of course, there has to be kind of a conference about jury instructions, all of that stuff. But the judge is saying that we could possibly have closing arguments on Thursday. Thursday of next week. So that is coming up very fast. And then given, jury deliberations, all of that stuff, a lot of things are moving pretty fast. Even though it was kind of a slow end to finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, it's like, bam, the light's here. We're almost wrapping this case up, and it could happen as soon as next Thursday.
We were talking about this. So if they really think they're going to wrap up the defense's case, A, it doesn't look like Sean Combs is planning to testify. And B, and this is something I'll ask my panelists in a little bit, defense might feel pretty good about their case. They might feel that they don't need to call as many witnesses as they first thought. And through cross-examination or some of the problematic messages and alleged behavior of the witnesses in this case, they might feel reasonable doubt has already been raised. This is a question from @Tia215. Question for Elizabeth Milner. Christina Corum's name has been up every day of this trial. Will she be coming in?
It doesn't seem that way. It doesn't seem like the defense plans on calling her, and with the government resting their case on Monday, it doesn't seem like they're going to be calling her either. And it's interesting because we have been hearing so much about her. We've been seeing her exhibit photos. We've been hearing her text messages from her devices that were turned over. But as far as seeing an appearance from her, either inside the courtroom or as a supporter of Diddy's, or even inside as a witness for either the defense or the government, we're not getting that, it seems like, from where we're kind of going and where we're at in the case. And so it's pretty disappointing. I was hoping to hear from her just in any type of context, whether it be as a defense witness, whether it be as a government witness, but it doesn't seem like either side plans on calling her, which is pretty disappointing. I really just was hoping, and I think a lot of people were hoping, to know what she has to say just about all of this altogether.
If I had to take a guess, I would say within the first day of jury deliberations, those jurors are going to ask themselves, any idea why she wasn't called? I have to imagine they're wondering that. It's a question we're wondering because her name has come up almost every single day in testimony. And you wonder whether or not the prosecution felt that it might be a weakness to their case. Defense might say, we don't want to call her. She's not going to help us in any way. Her messages may tell more of the story. Elizabeth, I want to play you something. So we talked about this before. There is this newly released audio tape of Cassie Ventura Fine that has come up. Now, this came up during her testimony where she is allegedly threatening this man over him viewing a sex tape of a freak-off, something of that nature. We were talking about, does it help the prosecution or the defense? This came up during her testimony, but this is the first time that we, the public, have heard it. Let me play a quick portion of it, and I'm happy to have you on because I want you to correct some misinformation there is about what this tape is. You're going to put it into context for us. So let me play it real quick.
No, you playing games. No, and now we're never. Now all my friends can go, and we can stay here. All right. Everybody can go, and we're gonna stay here. Everybody heard. So they're all leaving, and we're staying here until you show me that. I'm going to kill you. You don't understand. I don't give. I've never killed anybody in my life, but I will kill you because you're with me. With me in my life right now. If I saw a video of you doing anything that you didn't want people to see, I would show you the video so you could tell me what the happened. You're playing games with me, telling me you saw some. Now you're saying you didn't see some. You with me. I'm going to you up. I don't think you understand. And it's not going to be my hands, and it's not going to be blood on my hands. Someone else is going to do it. Tell me right now, and I'm recording this whole FYI, tell me what the you're talking about.
Elizabeth, put into context for us why that's so important and how it came up.
Yeah, so this particular audio recording came up, and it's pretty interesting. I feel like it can kind of work on both sides, right? Either the prosecution side or the defense's side, because when Cassie was on the witness stand, she was very quiet, she was very soft-spoken. Then the jurors heard this audio where you can see that she's pretty amped up. Why? Because the person that she is kind of confronting in this particular audio recording was someone who conveyed to her that they saw some sexually explicit videos of her, and Cassie wanted to know how they got this video, and this was specifically to, I think he was a club promoter, his name is Sujit, and she was just confronting him about how he got this information, how he got this video, and then just where this video is and how come he's not showing her this particular sexually explicit video. So I've been seeing just some kind of conversations about this particular audio recording where people are saying it's Cassie confronting an escort. That is not the case. This was somebody that Cassie honestly considered a friend who was telling her about this particular audio or this video that he saw of her. And it, again, and the video was sexually explicit. And so Cassie was just confronting them. Why I say it could possibly work on the defensive side is because you can hear Cassie in that video just kind of threatening to kill, and not even threatening to kill, but also threatening to kill, and it won't be at her hands, possibly implying that she can get somebody else to do it for her. And so I think the audio recording, again, can kind of go both directions depending on, I guess, the way the individual is kind of interpreting this particular message. Because of course, if somebody sees a sexually explicit video of you and you want to confront that person, you're going to be pretty mad, you're going to be pretty amped up. But it kind of also works in the defense's favor, because they can also be like, okay, well, you're saying that somebody else can, get violent with this particular person, and it seems like you're kind of making it seem that maybe you could get somebody else, maybe on Diddy's side, to kind of commit this violence on your behalf, that type of thing. And so the audio recording is from 2014-ish of when that was taken. And so, yes, this was an audio recording that we have heard it play out in court before, but now it is being released to the public. I think it was the defense who released this particular audio recording, too.
I think you're right about that. Obviously, it helps them a lot. But as I talked about, there was a different way the prosecution can ultimately frame it. Hey, she was so concerned about, these tapes coming out. And Diddy allegedly was blackmailing her, threatening to release tapes too, that goes to her fear. Maybe more of a stretch. But Elizabeth Milner, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And I'm going to see you later on today on Sidebar.
Yes, see you then.
See you then. All right, Tyler, I want to go back to you. There was something that I mentioned before. If the defense has now shortened their case and they're only going to have a few days of bringing witnesses, does that signal to you that they feel confident that enough reasonable doubt has been raised that they don't need to put on more of a defense?
I think it does. I think it shows that the defense feels confident in their cross-examination. And I think they probably believe that the prosecution's witnesses have been weak, that the government case isn't that strong. And just to give you an example on some of those points, they're the ones who introduced this tape of Miss Ventura. They could say that, look, this is the real Miss Ventura you heard on audio, not the lady, a victim who was pregnant on the stand earlier in this case. So they're going to try to attack the witnesses some more, probably through some evidence that they put up in their case in chief. But just telling the judge here that they expect 2 days worth of testimony logically has to signal that they're confident in their the lack of the strength in the government's case, because they do not have to put up any evidence. They're not required to, and they must feel like they have a good case.
We got a super chat question from Shauna C. Shauna, thank you so much. This is for the panel. Transcripts for July 5th named Christina Quorum as a co-conspirator. Attorney said that due to pending lawsuits, Christina Quorum's right to plead the Fifth will be waived if she testifies, and anything said in this trial could be used against her in lawsuits. You want to comment on that, Joe? I can't confirm whether or not the transcript for July 5th named her as a co-conspirator and which attorney they're referring to, but does that make sense to you? Let me read it one more time. The transcripts for July 5th named Christina Quorum as a co-conspirator. Attorney said that due to pending lawsuits, KK's right to plead the Fifth will be waived if she testifies, and anything said in this trial could be used against her in lawsuits. Joe.
Yeah, it kind of reminds you that all these civil things are still out there, right? And so therefore, actually, it sounds like it ends up being a good thing that it doesn't look like she's going to end up testifying. Fundamentally, what it comes down to for the prosecution and for the defense, for that matter, right, is whether or not she helps them, right? And the prosecution obviously has made a decision that she doesn't help them, right? I don't know what kind of deal was struck, et cetera. Obviously, there were some conversations somewhere there, right? So she doesn't help them enough in terms of what they would be getting somehow. And then the defense, assuming they don't put her on, and it sounds like their case is getting shorter and shorter, that they're not going to do it either. So what we're talking about is this eventuality. It doesn't sound like it's going to come. The whole idea that something would be, that her right to self-incrimination would be waived because of the lawsuits. That's kind of interesting to me, but we don't end up getting there if ultimately neither side is going to bring her to testify.
By the way, that comment from Shauna was correct, except for the date. I kind of forgot what month it is. Shauna said July 5th. It's not even July yet, so it was for June 5th. The transcript said that. Okay, Dave, we go to another super chat question. This is a really important one. It's about racketeering. This is from Nest Dog. Nest Dog, thank you so much. Also been incredibly generous with questions during the course of these live streams. They only need 2 of the 8 charges, right? Kidnapping, arson, bribery, witness tampering, forced labor, trafficking, prostitution, drugs. Talk to us about what that means, right? For racketeering, there are a number of underlying predicate crimes. What am I saying by that? What do they have to prove? They have to prove 2, right?
Right. Racketeering means 2 predicate crimes, at least, or more. And you have to have an ongoing criminal enterprise. So you got to show that, yes, this was all done to help Diddy. His people were helping him throughout. Even if Diddy himself didn't get his hands dirty, they were working for him and he knew about it. Now, the 2 predicate crimes could be arson, Kid Cudi's car. Could be witness intimidation. It could be bribery, trying to pay the officer to delete the
Eddie Garcia
video, right? It could be human trafficking. There's all these potential predicate crimes. But it's more than that. You have to show the ongoing criminal enterprise as well.
Can I ask you a question about that? Does the
Okay,
prosecution
his sound went so low.
that he engaged in a pattern? I'll tell you what, we're working on mic issues with you, Dave. Don't worry, this is not a conspiracy to silence you. We will figure it out. Let me ask you this question. Tyler, do you have to prove, I'm going to save this question for you once we figure out your mic, actually. I want to save this one. Tyler, I have a different question for you. And I forgot the question. Oh, here we go. It's a question from Jesse. Oh, and then Jesse says, hey, Jesse. Great name, by the way, isn't it? This is from you, Tyler. Are employers allowed to let go of people that are on jury duty? I mean, these people have been on jury duty they're going to be like 8 weeks.
Yeah, every state law is different, but I don't know necessarily the laws for in New York, but I'm pretty sure they offer protections for employees, and they're not going to fire an employee due to them doing their civic duty, serving on a jury. And so I highly doubt that would be a risk. And employers, they should understand that outside of voting, jury service is one of the highest civic responsibilities that we have. So I highly doubt there will be any job repercussions for serving on a jury.
Plus, I think once these jurors are released and they can tell their employers where they've been for the last 8 weeks, everybody's going to want to know what they have to say.
Who needs the job? They'll just write a book, right?
That's true.
There you go.
You see that? That we didn't even plan. It's not about the case. It's different. But okay. But anyway, I want to go back to you on this question, Dave. Does the prosecution have to prove, as part of racketeering, that there was sex trafficking? Do they have to prove there was a pattern of abusing women over years? Or can they just say, I know that's the opening paragraphs, right? But if they could say, hey, listen, he operated this criminal enterprise, he had his assistants, his chief of staff, managers, engaged in all sorts of crime. Forget sex trafficking, forget Jane, forget Cassie, bribery, forced labor, arson. If they control all that, if the jury doesn't believe Jane, if they don't believe Cassie, can they still get a conviction on racketeering?
Yes, but in the real world, yes. The linchpin of the case is the human trafficking. It's Cassie, it's Jane, but mostly Cassie. And if they don't believe the key witnesses, the ones who connect all the dots, then they're not going to get any conviction on racketeering either. Although I agree with you, I think they've made their case on the Mann Act, the prostitution claim. They can win on that. Yeah. But that would not be a victory for prosecutors. Prosecutors have to win 2 out of the 3, whichever 2 they are, and I think it's most likely human trafficking and prostitution.
What, 2 out of 5, right? So that 2 of the counts are transportation to engage in prostitution. One with Jane, one with.
All right. People are still speculating that Diddy will be convicted on the prostitution and the human trafficking. What do you think, sippers? Drop that down in the chat. Remember, when you come into the show, to like and subscribe as you get your teacups filled up. We are just going to wrap up the week with some Diddy updates. They had Brandon Paul testify. Not much substance there, I think. That ties Diddy into this mob RICO charge wheeling guy. What do you guys think? Drop it down in the chat.
Cassie.
Well, counts, but of the charges.
Yeah,
right,
of course,
right.
Of course,
and also, as Milo said, 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
There you go. All right, we got a question for you. Oh, we got a super chat question from Strong Mama. I'll throw this to you, Joe. Doesn't less time for Diddy's defense seem like Diddy has no defense?
No, I think so. I mean, if they want to, if they're spending less time, sometimes you want to get on the right side of the jury too, particularly if you believe that you have a brief presentation that allows you to make a couple points to undermine. I think that they're at what they say in closing, and they're working backward. They're going to knock out a couple things, a couple foundational things that these guys are trying to do in the prosecution through the testimony that they provide, and then say so in closing. Here's why this cause of action does not work. This charge doesn't work. This is why this charge doesn't work. This is why this charge doesn't work. For all that we've gone through, ladies and gentlemen in the jury, we did 4 witnesses and they said X, Y, Z, and take the words of Cassie, take the words of victim number 1 and victim number 2, roll that up together, put that in a ball, put a bow around it, and hopefully the jury appreciates them being brief, but they must believe that they can knock out as much as can be knocked out in a short period of time.
Tyler, we got this question from IA. Hello from Morocco. Morocco, my goodness. Hello from Morocco, Jesse. Question: why the threat makes her not a victim? Isn't it the opposite? Shows how scared she is. No, so that, again, is the audio tape, what we were playing before with Elizabeth. You heard it yourself, right? We played 2 different portions of it. Does it look like what I is saying, hey, it actually shows how scared she was? It shows what I was trying to say before. The prosecution could articulate it as she was so scared of this tape coming out that she's threatening this guy. What do you think she's feeling if Sean Combs is threatening to release this tape as a form of coercion of sex trafficking? Tyler, what's your thought on it?
Well, the prosecution could spin it that way. Mind you, the prosecution did not enter this into evidence. This was brought out on cross by the defense because they believe it furthers their case. And I think the crux of her audio is that she talks about murdering somebody. She talks about getting somebody else to do it. I mean, if I was on the defense, I would say, Ms. Ventura is willing to go through anything to protect her own reputation, throwing another man under the bus, putting somebody in jail for life, and even going to the extent of having somebody murdered. The defense entered this for a reason. The prosecution didn't. I think that's the strongest point that you can draw from it.
Okay, we got a question here from Shy. Let me throw it to you, Dave. What is the criteria for the first 12 jurors, then the alternates, the 6 alternates? Well, first of all, one of the jurors was replaced, so one of the alternates. I think there might be a misunderstanding here in terms of the role of jurors and alternates. It's not as if, well, you tell me what you make away from that question.
From Shy, or as I call her, Shy. Shy.
It's with an SH though.
Oh, okay. Well, it is Shy.
There you
go.
go.
Shy tea.
That's go.
So Shy.
Isn't that chai tea?
I don't drink tea. Like you don't drink anything but
What's
water.
going on here? What's going on? Just go back. Yeah.
Here's the biggest thing about these alternate jurors. They don't know they're alternate jurors because if you tell them they're an alternate juror, they're going to go to sleep. They're not going to pay close attention. At the end, before you go into the jury box, then you're told you're an alternate juror. They assume it's the same thing at the federal level as at the state level. Because in the state cases, you're not told. And at the end, when they say, okay, here are the jurors, I can go home, I've seen jurors cry because they're like, wait, I just invested a month of my time. I was physically invested in this, and now you're telling me I go home. I don't even get to.
I don't know why that particular person's audio is so low. But anyway, thank you guys for sipping tea with Tanisha. We're not going to spend too much time on Diddy today because we got other hot topics to go to. So yeah, we're going to, wrap up Diddy's tea, and then we're going to get into other tea talks.
Go in the jury deliberation room. So I assume it's the same thing in the federal cases because in state cases, that's how it works.
And by the way, just to make it clear, they hear all the same evidence. They're there every day. It's not as if, an alternate comes in midway trials like, what's been happening in the last 5 weeks? They are here for all the testimony, which, yeah, of course, it's a little frustrating. They're getting a front row seat to this and can't ultimately be a part of the deliberations. But, it's interesting. All right, let me go now back to Joe. We got a question from Alexandra McDonald, our very own producer here at Law and Crime. Doesn't the defense only taking 2 days indicate that Diddy won't take the stand? I mean, we've been talking about it. It's his decision, right? He could change his mind over the weekend, but doesn't it seem that that's already the conversation that he's had with his defense attorneys?
I think so. I mean, if I was prosecution and they were crazy enough to put Diddy on the stand, they being the defense, I know I'd be crossing him for 2 or 3 days, for sure. So that by itself, the fact that they're saying that they'll be done in a couple of days, indicates strongly that P. Diddy will not be part of the defense presentation. And again, I think they're counting on, the defense is probably counting on seeing Diddy as the person on some level that people people knew, that people saw in the news, et cetera. You know, could this guy, I mean, he's got a little sex addiction or whatever else, but could he actually be a criminal conspirator? Could he actually be having a criminal enterprise? His bad boy records, you know, really a criminal enterprise. Are these companies really? No, it couldn't be that. And if you put him on the stand and you drag through those particular things, for lack of a better term, and you run that tape and you talk about some of the things that show him at his worst, the circumstances that created this case, then the jury might be reminded of something else, and they won't take that risk.
No, it's a good point. Look, Tyler, this is an interesting point. You wonder what the defense is going to do. If we take it as true.
Now, I'm going to stop right there and sip the tea of what the last person just spoke to. I really like how he explained to us why Diddy feels, or Diddy's defense team feels, it would not be prevalent for Diddy to take the stand. Let's rewind that back and listen to what he said.
And is the audio tape, what we were playing before with Elizabeth. You heard it yourself, right? We played 2 different portions of it. Does it look like what I was saying, hey, it actually shows how scared she was? It shows what I was trying to say before. The prosecution could articulate it as she was so scared of the...
At the end, before you go into the jury box, then... I was prosecution and they were crazy enough to put Diddy on the stand, they being the defense, I know I'd be crossing him for 2 or 3 days, for sure. So that by itself, the fact that they're saying that they'll be done in a couple of days, indicates strongly that P. Diddy will not be part of the defense presentation. And again, I think they're counting on, the defense is probably counting on seeing Diddy as the person on some level that people knew, that people saw in the news, et cetera. You know, could this guy, I mean, he's got a little sex addiction or whatever else, but could he actually be a criminal conspirator? Could he actually be having a criminal enterprise? His bad boy records, you know, really a criminal enterprise. Are these companies really? No, it couldn't be that. And if you put him on the stand and you drag through those particular things, for lack of a better term, and you run that tape and you talk about some of the things that show him at his worst, the circumstances that created this case, then the jury might be reminded of something else, and they won't take that risk.
No, it's a good point.
Right. I really like how he broke that understanding down for us. Okay, because remember last week we have been milling over, will Diddy take the stand, right? And I thought maybe Diddy might want to take the stand so that he could kind of, you know, show how he, you know, was not what they said he was being charged of, and kind of add on to how much the women loved him and things like that. But he, you know, brought up a very good point. Let's listen to it one more time.
I was prosecution and they were crazy enough to put Diddy on the stand, they being the defense, I know I'd be crossing him for 2 or 3 days, for sure. So that by itself, the fact that they're saying that they'll be done in a couple of days, indicates strongly that P. Diddy will not be part of the defense presentation. And again, I think they're counting on, the defense is probably counting on seeing Diddy as the person on some level that people knew, that people saw in the news.
Okay, so breaking this, you know, analyzation down of this attorney and his understanding of what he's feeling as a attorney watching the Diddy trial, right? He's feeling like the defense for Diddy is already hinging on, you know, the jurors knowing Diddy prior. Like Diddy doesn't want to get up there and kind of like piggyback off of the witnesses testifying against him for the prosecution. But saying how much they love Diddy and they wanted to please Diddy and how good Diddy was and da-da-da-da-da, okay? Listening on.
etc. You know, could this guy, I mean, he's got a little sex addiction or whatever else, but could he actually be a criminal conspirator? Could he actually be having a criminal enterprise? His bad boy records, you know, really a criminal enterprise. Are these companies really? No, it couldn't be that. And if you put him on the stand and you drag through those particular things, for lack of a better term, and you run that tape and you talk about some of the things that show him at his worst, the circumstances that created this case, then the jury might.
And what if they were to go and like bring up things like Tupac's death and Biggie's death and the death surrounding around Kim Porter and Kim Porter's potential movie producer that wound up dead by you know, unknown circumstances or whatever. Like, what if they really dug deep? And I can see where Joe Richardson, the civil rights attorney, is coming from. Okay, let's keep listening.
Be reminded of something else, and they won't take that risk.
No, it's a good point. Look, Tyler, this is an interesting point. You wonder what the defense is going to do. If we take it as true, what we learned, I think last week, maybe the beginning of this week, my dates are getting all mixed up, that one of the first witnesses they plan to call, former head of HR, Human Resources, which, by the way, when you listen to Brendan Paul basically suggesting there really wasn't HR, I guess what they're trying to say is, and correct me if I'm wrong, what exactly was the job description of assistants, right? What did they think their job was? How were they getting paid? I think that's trying to undermine racketeering, right? Isn't that going to be one of the central focus of a witness like that, Tyler?
Yeah, I believe so. Calling a HR professional who works for Mr. Combs' businesses that offer testimony regarding the victims or other witnesses who testified for the government, showing how they had legitimate jobs, they were paid salary, had benefits, did real work for the legitimate business, goes against there being a underlying criminal enterprise. So if you're going to call somebody who's a white collar employee for Bad Boys to talk about the employee-employer relationship of these witnesses, that certainly goes to try to undermine the prosecution's case.
A lot of questions about Christina Quorum, KK, Sean Combs' former chief of staff. I think not only every day, I think almost every witness has mentioned Christina Quorum. Mo Williams asked, do you think they didn't call KK because it would have been horrible on cross-examination, as in the defense could have easily turned her testimony around? Thank you for the coverage, guys. You're welcome. Thank you so much. What do you think?
I think the prosecution worried that she was partial to Combs. They are very close, and that she would help him.
I'm going to break it off right there. As I said, we've heard almost everything we need to hear about Sean Diddy. Let's jump into some TMZ stuff and see what TMZ has been on for the Diddy trial, okay? Thank you for sipping tea with Tanisha Talks Teas. Remember, you can follow me on all social media platforms at Tanisha Talks Teas or Tanisha Talks Teas TV. Okay. It's like TMZ winners versus losers. Let's see. Jermaine, where's my content?
He testified, I would set up hotel rooms for Freakoffs. I would sometimes buy drugs for Diddy, do things like that. Okay. What does that have to do with racketeering? Today was a good day for the defense. I think the defense, in many ways, may have won today. And I think this is stunning. But we may get a verdict in the Diddy case next week. Next week. We thought that the defense was going to spend 2 weeks presenting a case. They are going to spend at most 2 days, maybe only 1 day. And that day is going to come early next week. The prosecution is expected to finish Monday. And that means on Tuesday, the defense has its day. Maybe goes into Wednesday, maybe not. And then they have closing arguments. They may have rebuttal, but I doubt it because the defense isn't going to put on that many witnesses. And so they do closing arguments. The judge gives instructions. And on Friday, I could see the jury deliberating. And what's interesting is
a lot of people ask me, why do I like auto watch? The biggest reason is
while TMZ are paying bills, we want to thank everybody for sympathy with Tanisha Talks Tees today. We're not going to spend too much more time on Diddy. As we said we heard them say they're wrapping up Diddy trial, right? Harvey Levin's speculating Friday they could be deliberating for Diddy. So let's keep on sipping tea. Remember to come in, like, and subscribe as you fill up your teacups.
July. And I can tell you, having covered scores and scores of trials, that one of the things that makes a jury decide on guilt or innocence is a holiday. That juries typically want to finish before any kind of an extended holiday. They also like to finish on Fridays so they don't have to spend the weekend worrying and coming back on Monday. So I'm not saying this is going to be a one-day verdict, but it could be. And I know that when juries think we have travel plans, we have plans over the weekend, you know, it may not be right, but it is just human nature that they reach a verdict. They reach a consensus. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen. And honestly, my gut is that they're going to be split on racketeering. Although, again, I don't know. And after O.J. Simpson, I've stopped making predictions. But my guess is that racketeering is going to be a hard one. And I mean, today, Brendan Paul testifies. He is the, quote, drug mule, although he denies being that was arrested. He was arrested at the airport in Miami the day Diddy's houses were searched. And he testified, I would set up hotel rooms for Freakoffs. I would sometimes buy drugs for Diddy, do things like that. Okay, what does that have to do with racketeering? I mean, it's legal to set up a hotel room, and it's illegal to buy drugs. But if buying drugs is racketeering, I live in Los Angeles, and I would say that there must be several 100,000 people who are going to be guilty of racketeering who have drug dealers. That is not racketeering. And, you know, we get back to this whole thing about racketeering, that it really is kind of organized crime, where you have a business which is a subterfuge for some illegal operation. Diddy is a disorganized criminal. He's scattered all over the place. You know, get him, get her, do this, do that. He's a terrible boss, and he is a criminal for all of the things that have come out. But is he a racketeer? It is not the traditional view of racketeering. And I say that again with Brendan Paul. I'm just not seeing it. And as a matter of fact, one of the reasons I said Diddy won today is that, well, on cross-examination, Diddy's lawyers asked Brendan Paul, what about Jane, who was involved in the Freakoffs, and the prosecution says she was coerced? Well, they asked Brendan Paul, did you see any evidence of coercion? And he said no. Again, I am not saying whether Jane or Cassie was coerced, was not coerced. I'm just saying when somebody testifies to that and it's the prosecution who called that person, you got to wonder, why did the prosecution call Brendan Paul? How much good did Brendan Paul do for the prosecution in terms of proving racketeering? I don't see it. But in terms of talking about consent, since he saw Jane, that seems to help the defense. So I don't quite understand that game. So we are now coming upon what could be a very interesting jury deliberation. And there are three real elements here. One is racketeering, which I've talked about. My gut tells me there's going to be a split, at least initially, on racketeering. On the issue of consent, you know, whether Cassie and Jane were coerced, Again, I think the most powerful evidence at this point is that airplane trip back from France where Cassie says Diddy showed me one of the Freakoff videos and said, unless you do a Freakoff in New York, I'm going to release the video. That's classic coercion. If the jury believes it, I think he's going to get convicted. But I haven't seen much more where they've shown that. And we will see on the coercion side. I don't know. On the side of just the Mann Act, of showing, did you transport a sex worker across state lines, give them money for the purpose of prostitution, I think that's where Diddy is in big trouble. I could easily see the jury coming back unanimously and saying yes to that. And I think that is going to be the most interesting charge, because you may have some jurors who say, I want to convict him on something, but I'm not quite feeling racketeering and not even feeling the consent issue, but at least I can get him on the Mann Act. So I could see some jurors saying that. On the other hand, you might have some jurors saying, well, I want to get him on the Mann Act, but I'm not sure of the other two. And since I've convicted him on one, I may let the other two go. So if I'm able to convey what I hope I am, is that this is a very complicated, dynamic process of a jury, in some ways, horse trading. And that is what goes on. Again, everybody thinks, oh, it's just by the book. You look at the jury instructions. There is horse trading going on sometimes in jury deliberation rooms where they want to reach a consensus and they got to figure out, how do you do it? And sometimes it could be that somebody is very persuasive saying, look, if you're really not sure on this one or this one, fine, we'll say not guilty. But here, he's guilty. And the thing that everybody's thinking of is, how long is this going to go on? That you can't do it indefinitely. And they've already invested so much time, they don't want to end up with a hung jury and a mistrial. That's a very unsatisfying, hollow feeling. So they want to come up with something. And if they're divided, that's where horse trading often comes into play. So we are going into a weekend. Next week is going to be very, very interesting, because I think the jury is going to have this case next week unless something really unexpected happens. And I do want to say one other thing. The defense initially said that they were going to spend 2 weeks. So you got to wonder, why 1 or 2 days instead of 2 weeks? So it could be a variety of things, but my gut tells me that they don't have necessarily the strongest witnesses to call, number one, to rebut what the jury has already heard. But even more so, maybe they feel that they've got enough reasonable doubt that if they look strong and say, we don't need to rebut a lot, all we need is a day or two to button certain things up, and then we're going to give it to the jury. There's a feeling of confidence that the defense shows by doing something like that, that can telegraph to the jury, where the jury thinks, they don't think the prosecution proved their case, so they didn't have to do the full 2 weeks. And they might also think, and they're giving us a break because we don't have to sit through 2 more weeks of testimony. So there's a lot at play here. But I would say to you, be ready, because we may get a verdict in United States versus Sean Combs next week.
Okay, as we heard, they are gearing up for Diddy. I accidentally clicked on that. 1 second, let me go back. Okay, we're actually gonna go ahead and wrap Diddy right on up. Okay. So we heard from Brendan Paul. Basically, he really didn't give the prosecution much on a RICO charge as far as like any drug trafficking stuff. They said he barely even had enough for personal consumption. You know, and then they don't believe Diddy's gonna get on the stand. So yeah, we're gonna wrap it up on the day 25 through 29, is it? Of the Diddy trial. We'll come back next week and see where things are, especially if he gets, you know, if it deliberates to the jurors, right? And the jurors give a decision on whether or not he'll be found guilty or acquitted. This has been Tanisha Talks Teas. Thank you so much for sipping tea with me on Diddy, catching up on Diddy stuff. I'm going to come back up with a hot, explosive tea talk on R. Kelly, Tyler Perry, Fat Joe. Rest in peace to Lynn Hamilton, who died at the age of 95, that played Sanford and Son, his girlfriend, the nurse on Sanford and Son. And Wendy Williams, ex-husband, who's suing the state of New York about her guardianship. We'll be back up in a few moments with some more tea talk with Tanisha Talks Tea. So stay tuned. Remember to click your notification bell so you'll know when I come live. I'm live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Kick. Thank you, guys. See you shortly.
Thanks for watching. Remember to show your support by liking, subscribing, and sharing. It's a blessing. Keep your teacups filled and ready for my next upload. Until then, stay inspired and remember, always stay dipping.